From Los Angeles, I'm Eddie Garcia. He's Doug Stolhand. Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Puck Podcast. It is Sunday, July 20th, 2025. This is the first period of a three-period podcast. First period, which some of you are watching on YouTube, will cover all the major news from the past week in the NHL, including the complete schedule release for the 2025-26 season. In our second period, it's our interview or special feature segment. Doug and I will continue looking at random NHL teams and what their rosters would look like if they were made up only of active NHL players that they drafted. And in the third period, it's our fan feedback segment where we read listener emails and have our off-ice report updating you what's going on in our lives. You can catch all three periods on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you're seeing on YouTube, please subscribe, get notified when our latest shows are out.
The Puck Podcast is the original hockey podcast. We started 19 years ago in 2006. In fact, our anniversary is 2 days away, so happy early anniversary to you, Eddie.
Huzzah.
As we enter our 20th season of being members of the NHL media, Eddie and I have combined for over 50 years of sports media expertise, knowledge, and experience. And we bring you every week a show that covers all 32 teams equally. When we started this show, there were not 32 teams. They've added a few since we got going. Some have relocated, but we cover every team equally. And wherever the biggest story is, that's where we start each week. And so for that, I turn it over to my good friend, Eddie Garcia.
Well, the big story this week, there were some interesting signings and trades, which we'll get to in a moment. But probably if you're talking about on a league-wide basis, what's the big news? And that's the schedule has been released for all 32 teams in the NHL. It came out on Wednesday. We will have, for the final time, probably ever, an 82-game regular season because it's going to increase to 84 games after next season. And I don't see them decreasing it at any point because that's less money for them. So 41 games at home, 41 games on the road this coming season for all 32 teams in the NHL. As far as some of the highlights going into the season, as far as the dates that we have now on some of the games, we do know October 7th is opening night in the NHL with a triple header. You've got the Blackhawks at the Panthers, Florida celebrating their second straight championship. They'll raise the banner and they'll start their quest officially for the three-peat. Then you've got the Rangers hosting the Penguins. It's former Pittsburgh head coach Mike Sullivan with his new team making his debut with the Rangers, facing his old team. And then the final game of the night will be in LA with the Kings hosting the Avalanche.
The one thing about that triple header is that obviously the Panthers are the big draw and they should open the season. The first team that starts it should be where we left off. The champions raise their banner. But the Blackhawks are not a great matchup for them. Anything could happen on that one given night, but I would like to have seen a better matchup, maybe Tampa for that first matchup, something with a little bit more juice to it. And then the second one is a matchup of two teams that missed the playoffs last year. Not a great matchup on paper, but two markets that certainly bring national fan bases and a lot of attention to the game. Not lost on me that we have an original six team in each of those first two games. And then the third one is, for my money, the best game of the night, the Grandma Fiddler game of the night in advance, at least on paper, as you've got two playoff teams from last season and one of the couple of the best players in the world in Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar in action. So that nightcap seems like a great one, but I love the triple header. I love that none of them are starting at the same time. They actually scheduled it so that they will be kind of spread out through the day, at least a little bit, so that you can watch as much of all three as possible. And I like that there's a triple header. We've said for years on this show, opening night in the NHL needs to feel more like an event. And this makes it feel like an event. It's 79 days away as we record this show. So we're just over 10 weeks away from opening night in the NHL. That's exciting. And the countdown is on for hockey that matters again.
Early on in the season, October 28th, all 32 teams in the NHL are going to be in action. I think they call it Frozen Frenzy. I don't know if that's officially the name of it or if that's what's been kind of thrown on it. But starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time, the first game will be Penguins Flyers. Every 15 or 30 minutes later, another game will be starting. All the games have a staggered start time, and it'll culminate with an 11 p.m. Eastern time start between the Kings and the Sharks. So interesting that it happens very early in the season.
Yeah, I like it, but it's, as you said, it's just way too much hockey. I mean, it's nice to have all 32 teams, but no fan can realistically watch all of that. they'll probably have that ESPN thing where they did their version of Red Zone, kind of taking you around the league in real time. And that might be fun to check out until your team plays. But obviously, all of us are going to be watching our team at that night and not channel surfing around or kind of watching around the league. But I like the idea. I would prefer it to be done on a weekend where they can take over from starting at 11 a.m. Eastern and go all day until 11 p.m. Eastern. That would be better to me because then it feels like a full day of hockey. This is spread out over 5 hours of start times, which is nice, but it's a lot of games in a condensed schedule. And it's basically the day that you're going to miss more hockey than any other on the schedule. So it is what it is, but I do like the idea. I like the concept, and it sounds almost like the Croatian New Year's that you've been enjoying for years. Of a new dish comes out of the oven every 15 minutes.
I wish it was 15 minutes. It was every hour a new dish comes out of the oven.
I know you, and you were looking at your watch, and surely it's time for that food to come out. When's that next dish? Let's go.
Absolutely. By the way, October 28th is a Tuesday, so I guess on the one hand, there's nothing else conflicting against it at that point. If you're going to have it on the weekend, there might be football, going
nothing
on.
Else, but nothing else other than life. I mean, school, work. That's. I get what they're trying to do, but it should be, to me, that should be scheduled for the first Saturday after the college football season ends. So because you're not going to beat college football in the United States. And I get that Canada doesn't care about it, but we do down here. So the first Saturday, so some Saturday in early December, when the NFL doesn't take over Saturdays yet, find that day, put all 32 games in action. I get that it's also conflicting with NBA arenas and all that stuff, but find a way to make it work.
Coming up in November, you've got the 2 Global Series games going on over in Sweden. Nashville Predators and Pittsburgh Penguins will play on November 14th. That's a Friday. And then November 16th, a Sunday in Stockholm, Sweden. So that's your Global Series matchup for this year.
I know Erik Karlsson is a Swede. I can't think of any Swedes off the top of my head on the Predators. I'm not sure if you can or not, but he'll obviously be a big draw. Rickard Rakell, also Swedish on the Penguins. So they will certainly have the home fans, I would think, support in that game.
In January 2nd, not January 1st, but January 2nd, which is a Friday, you've got the Winter Classic. That is the Florida Panthers hosting the New York Rangers. That'll be played at the home of the Miami Marlins baseball team. So that's our first of the 2 outdoor games. February will be the second outdoor game. That is also in Florida, where the Lightning are hosting the Boston Bruins on February 1st. That's a Sunday. They'll play at Raymond James Stadium, home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the NFL. Those are your 2 outdoor games this year.
Only 2?
Only 2.
No Heritage Classic up in Canada in March or something? That's how
not this year. Yeah, not this year.
I like the Raymond James. The Buccaneers Stadium is nice, and that'll be a nice backdrop with the pirate ship and all that stuff. If they can incorporate a way that the players can enter the ice from the pirate ship, that would be fantastic. Might be a little dangerous with the slope, but
just skate your way down it.
That's what I'm saying. They'll fly with some momentum. It's a great idea until somebody gets hurt, and then you're like, "What the hell are we doing, pushing these players down this ramp?" But the Marlins Stadium. I mean, I don't watch baseball, so I don't know too much about the Marlins Stadium, but is that a place that it will be interesting visually to host a outdoor game?
I wouldn't think so. They used to have this like monstrosity in the outfield. I don't know if they took it down or not, but they had this very loud, ugly looking thing. When somebody hit a home run, it would spin around. It looked like something from Disneyland or something. But I don't know if that's still there or not because I haven't watched. First of all, I'm not watching much baseball, and I sure as hell ain't watching any Miami Marlins games if I am watching baseball. So, no, I don't think so. But it's the defending Stanley Cup champs. They'll, their fans getting a chance to be a part of one of these games is cool. But that venue,
no, I'm all for it. But why not the Dolphin Stadium? Why not the Orange Bowl?
Yeah,
if that's still standing.
The Orange Bowl. Yeah, I don't know if the Orange Bowl is still around anymore. But what is it? The Hard Rock Cafe Stadium or whatever, where the Dolphins play. That would seem to be a better place, but I don't know if it wasn't available or what the situation was. They didn't want it. They didn't want to be played there during football season. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's a factor, but
Probably.
it's been done before, and I like that they do a outdoor game in Florida, in South Florida, that they get to host at. So that means that it's certainly viable for something to be done here in Southern California. I think Utah has some great options. If the Mammoth want to host one, that guy certainly paid enough that he probably deserves an outdoor game. He overpaid for that franchise. I still think the Bay Area would be great, something with the Bay Area in the background, if they could find a way to do it at either the Giant Stadium or I don't even know what else facility there would be. So I guess the Giant Stadium would be ideal. But there's a lot of options, and I'm glad to see that it's not the usual suspects hosting it. I wish it was not the Rangers as the road team, but I get that they want a national market to be interested in the game, even though the defending Stanley Cup champs should be enough to sell that game.
Not a lot of NHL regular season action in the month of February because we have a lengthy Olympic break from February 6th to February 24th. No regular season hockey games. They will be heading over to Italy to participate in the Olympics. The players, obviously, that are chosen to represent their countries. First time the NHL will be playing in the Olympics since 2014. And I know we are excited about this because you and I are big fans of the Olympics.
Yeah, if you thought the Frozen Four was, or the whatever they called that thing last year,
Four nations.
yeah, whatever that it was, whatever it was called. If you thought that was good, you ain't seen nothing yet. Now, the one thing about the international, there will be no fighting. There won't be any Kachuk brothers dragging their knuckles and beating their chest like King Kong with Fay Ray out there. But the hockey will be fantastic. It is going to be. I mean, there's nothing like putting your country's flag on your chest and representing them on the international stage. So that's going to be very good, worth the 2.5-week break. And I know that I saw that the Ducks, because I was looking at their schedule, from like January 30th until March 8th, they are at home. So a great opportunity for a lot of their players to rest, recharge, and get some quality time with the family in mid-season that is not usually very common.
I gotta love the Fay Ray reference. That's the original.
Oh yeah. Have they remade it?
A couple of times, yeah. I know Jessica Lange was one in like the 80s, and who was the latest one? I think she's from Australia. She's a very known actress, and I'm blanking on who.
How recent we talking?
Peter Jackson directed it, and like Adrian Brody and Jack Black were in it. Naomi Watts is her name.
You go. Yeah. Naomi Watts. I did not see it. Fay Ray, man.
Jesus. Wow, it's your dad got that reference. I know that.
Well, where do you think I got it from? We literally had a King Kong movie poster, the original movie poster, hanging in my house when I was a kid. So I saw that a lot, and I saw the names on the poster, and so yeah, that was always something there. I'm sure my dad still has it somewhere.
The NHL regular season will end on April the 16th.
It's nice to see that it's out because you can start planning your days and whatnot, and it's fun to look at when each team plays and how many back-to-backs they have. What's the longest road trip? Do they start at home? All that stuff. So it's nice to have dates on the calendar again. You can count it down until your team takes the ice. But like I said, we're 11 weeks away, just over 10 weeks away by the time you hear this, from the start of the regular season, and that's fantastic. It's going to fly by.
A couple of things you might be interested in as far as individual players. Alex Ovechkin, if he gets a hat trick on opening night, he will reach 900 career goals. He's 3 away as he starts his 21st season, and his first game's April 8th. Capitals hosting the Bruins. The biggest offseason move, Mitch Marner will make his home debut the same night, October 8th, against the LA Kings, and then he'll return to Toronto on April the 23rd. Jonathan Toews is returning to the NHL on October 9th. Winnipeg taking on Dallas. His first game back in Chicago will be on January the 19th. So a couple of individuals that will be in the spotlight on those nights.
Did I hear you correctly that your Kings open with a back-to-back?
They do. Home and road.
And they play the Avalanche and Golden Knights?
That is correct.
That's a tough way to start the season. My goodness. My goodness, that is a tough one. You're going to get to see both goalies immediately.
That's right.
And you will have played 2 full games before half the league even takes the ice.
That's also correct. It will be the 100th seasons for the Blackhawks, Red Wings, and Rangers. And for the Blue Jackets and Minnesota Wild, it'll be their 25th anniversary season coming up this year.
How does that work? See, this is where sports loses me on some stuff. It's the 100th season for which teams?
Blackhawks, Red Wings, and Rangers.
And yet those are considered 3 of the original 6. And the NHL's 100th birthday was a few years ago. The math ain't mathin'.
Yeah. Keith Olbermann once did a rant on this that nobody really cared about, but I do remember it.
Well, obviously you cared then.
I mean, I just remember, like, why is he this upset about this? But
was it in the hallways of Fox Sports? Were you the only one listening to
it?
No. Or were you in an elevator that had been strapped?
No, are you kidding me? He never talked to any people like you or me. He just looked out of the corner of his eye with disdain as, why are you in my elevator?
Yes, I think I've told the story on here, but I'll tell it again. That I knew he was a big baseball fan. And when he first got hired by Fox Sports, we were very excited because it was by far the biggest talent we had on the air. No offense to Chris Myers, Kevin Frazier, Van Earl Wright, or Randy Sparagi. But when he got there, everybody was kind of excited that he was there. And I saw him. My desk was on the set of the shows at that point. We were back well behind where the cameras and the lights were. There was a wall, and then we were behind that wall. So it was basically like Hoth for us because they kept it very cold for the talent because they were under the lights, and we had none of that warmth. So I remember going out and, one of our coworkers was in like a Navy pea coat in mid-July, and people thought he was insane when he went outside for lunch. But I see Keith Olbermann getting some snacks. I go over to him. I had just started reading a book about the history of the California Angels. And so I asked him if he had read that book. And he looked at me like I asked him, do you mind if I sleep with your wife tonight? And he was just, no. And I was, okay. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to get fired. But I was just like, why would you have that reaction? It was so odd that he was a very peculiar individual, and I'm sure still is.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah. That's one way.
I mean, let's put it this way. And this is a true story, Chuck Knobloch was a second baseman for the Yankees that suddenly forgot how to throw to first base. He simply could not throw the ball to first base. And he threw the ball into the crowd, and it hit a woman, an elderly woman. And we were all just watching it with the usual concern. And when Keith Olbermann announced off the air to everybody working there, that's my mom, we all laughed that his mom had been hit because he was shocked and appalled. And we knew she wasn't seriously injured. She was not great, but she wasn't dead or unconscious. So, but yeah, he was not well liked after he showed up at all, especially when he got the popcorn machine taken out because he didn't like the smell of popcorn.
Yes. You will all not have free popcorn.
And nobody was angrier than that to bring it back to hockey.
You know who was really upset about that to bring it back to hockey?
Phil Esposito.
Phil Esposito, who worked on the show, hated Keith Olbermann from that day for denying him free popcorn. As well.
That's true.
That's a true story. Yeah. Let's get to some signings this week in the NHL. Boehm Byram, the defenseman for Buffalo, was a restricted free agent. There was some talk about maybe him being traded. And I guess they could still trade him, but I wouldn't think so. 2 years, $12.5 million, $6.25 million per season for the left shot, 24-year-old defenseman. No trade protection, so he could be moved if things don't go well for Buffalo this season. And who could see that coming? But Boehm Byram is under contract for 2 years. And there was he didn't file for arbitration, but the team did. And I think he got to pick whether it was a 1 or a 2 year deal. And shockingly, he decided, how about a 2 year deal? But he is under contract now.
Yeah, and it really doesn't change anything other than the fact that he's under contract and will be there if he's not traded on opening day in training camp and for the season. But what it does, I would think it increases his trade market because the teams trading for him know exactly what he's going to cost. He's already under contract. There's no negotiation. There's no, can we get this guy signed? You've got him for 2 years, and a year from now, you can sign him to an extension. Remember, in the last year of somebody's contract, you can sign him to an extension during that entire year. So if you have a favorite team and they have a player who has a contract expiring at the end of this season, they can negotiate an extension with them right now or a new contract. So that is certainly possible. I would think this would increase his chances of being traded because the teams know exactly how much cap space they're going to have to allocate for him. But it's up to, at least the Sabres know he's signed. He's going to play for us for the next 2 years unless we decide to move him.
Big news for your Anaheim Ducks. We knew that with the trade of John Gibson that Lukas Dostal was going to be the number one in net. And he'll be the number one in net for a little while. He gets a 5-year deal, $32.5 million, $6.5 million per season for the 25-year-old Ducks netminder.
So it's almost a perfect deal as far as swapping the money they were paying to John Gibson to Lukas Dostal. Gibson was making $6.4 million a year for this year and next. Dostal now makes $6.5 million for the next 5 years starting this season. Great value, I think, for a guy that is a number one goalie and should be a very good for this team in the next couple of years. I don't see this being an albatross of a contract. I know he does not have any trade protection the first 2 years, but does the last 3 years after that. So good cost certainty for the Ducks, and one of only 2 players that they signed this week, both restricted free agents. Dostal had elected for arbitration, but obviously this waives that off.
And another pretty big signing this week, another restricted free agent, as the Winnipeg Jets sign forward Gabe Vilardi to a 6-year deal. He'll make $7.5 million per season. He's 25 years old.
Amazing that he's still only 25, isn't it? Seems like he'd be older than that. And if you had to redo it, I got to think you would want the Kings to never have traded for Pierre-Luc Dubois. I get that he
certainly
eventually brought you Darcy Kemper, but the players you gave up would provide valuable quality depth right now. And the Jets are enjoying that. Vilardi did have problems staying healthy. I don't know that he's ever played a full 82-game season, but that's true of a lot of players. When he's on the ice, he's productive. And this is a nice bonus for him, financial stability, and knowing that he's at a place where he's comfortable, he's been successful, and he's there for the next, what did you say, 7 years they got him signed for?
6 years.
6 years. Very nice. Nice bit of business for the Jets and a good value for him. I got to think that money goes far to pay for the heating bill in Winnipeg.
Yeah, as far as doing the trade over again, I would do it over because of Vilardi. Alex Iafallo is okay. He's not a nice little, Swiss Army knife, to quote a reference that we'll have in the third period, but it's Vilardi. Vilardi was the one they needed to keep. They've been looking for a right-handed shot forward to play in their top 6, and they had him, and they let him go. So yes, I would definitely like to do that trade over again if possible. We had a couple of trades, including a swap of former first-round picks. One of them you've heard of, the other one maybe not. But Isaac Howard, the Hobey Baker Award winner from Michigan State, left winger, first-round pick, 31st overall in 2023, had said he wasn't going to sign with the Tampa Bay Lightning, so they trade him to the Edmonton Oilers in exchange for another first-round pick. This is Sam O'Reilly. He was a right winger. He was taken 32nd overall in 2024. Won a Memorial Cup with the London Knights this past season. So former first-round picks swapped for each other. Isaac Howard goes Tampa Bay to Edmonton. Sam O'Reilly goes from Edmonton to Tampa Bay.
Didn't we talk about this last week on the show?
I don't believe so. Did we? I don't think so.
I think we did, because I don't think this news is within the last week, but I'll repeat myself either way. Okay. I love the trade for Edmonton. Because they're getting a guy that is a Hobey Baker winner and should be able to step into their lineup right away. The Lightning getting something for a guy that refused to play for you is good business. He could have gone back to college and become a free agent down the road. We know that loophole. He was threatening to use that. So they got something for him. Whether or not O'Reilly ends up being anything of value for him, who knows? But it was always odd that he refused to play for the Lightning, a good team, a team that has a lot of success, good coaches, and plays in a pretty good market. I never really understood it. I don't know what his problem was with them, but either way, going to Edmonton has to be very exciting for him because getting the chance to be on the wing of either Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl is going to make any player better. And Isaac Howard is no different. And that's a guy that Edmonton, as we will talk about in the second period, does not draft well. They have no prospects of impact on their way in. So this trade gets somebody in there that can make an impact probably pretty quickly.
I think we did talk about that already, so I apologize for repeating that. The Vancouver Canucks made a couple of trades. They sent goaltender Artur Silovs to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Chase Stillman and a 4th-round pick in 2027, and the Canucks also sent Dakota Joshua to the Toronto Maple Leafs for a 4th-round pick in 2028.
Mr. Joshua, as we know, and that's a reference that only gets more timely with every passing day. I've referenced Fay Ray and now Mr. Joshua.
Certainly closer to our,
at least we saw that when it was new.
Yeah.
My goodness. But no, it's obviously depth moves. I don't think when you've got Lankinen and Demko, you don't need Artur Silovs. It's depth in net for Pittsburgh. Nothing more, gives them some options. But Vancouver, those are expendable parts, no great value, but getting something for pieces that you have lying around the house basically is not bad.
Interesting note with the Columbus Blue Jackets forward Yegor Chinnikov has asked to be traded, citing issues with the coaching staff. He said that he wants to stay in the NHL, but did not, leave out a return to Russia if he doesn't get traded. Apparently his time in Columbus in his mind is over. 24 years old, was the 21st pick in 2020, been plagued by injuries in his 4 seasons in the NHL. He missed 40 games last year because of a back injury, 7 goals and 15 points in 30 games a year ago. 1 season remaining on his contract, his best year, 2020 through 24, when he had 16 goals and 29 points in 53 games.
I think worth a flyer for, and not Philadelphia, if you're a GM around the league that has maybe a spot. This is definitely an NHL player. This is not a prospect that you can put back in the AHL and hope to develop. He'll go back to Russia if that's the case. So if you have a spot in your middle 6 that you could use a winger, it might be worth a risk or taking him on. I could see a team like San Jose. I could see a team like Chicago, somebody that, why not? I mean, if you're trading for Ryan Reeves, obviously you got roster spots available in San Jose. So, and if it works out, if this guy realizes his potential and becomes an impact player, you're going to look like a genius. And if he doesn't, no skin off your back. You let him go in a year or two and let him go back to Russia. But I think I'll be interested to see who gives this guy a shot.
Goaltender Yaroslav Halak officially announced his retirement after 17 seasons in the NHL. Now, he hasn't played in the NHL in a couple of years. The 40-year-old Halak last played April 13th, 2023 for the New York Rangers. Spent time with the Carolina Hurricanes early in the 2023-24 season. He was on a tryout, but was released before competing in a game. 2-time Jennings Trophy winner as a goalie on a team that allowed the fewest goals in a season. Had an overall record of 295, 189, and 69. 53 shutouts, 2.50 goals against average, and a .915 career save percentage. That was in 581 games, 555 starts. Spent time with the Canadiens, Blues, Capitals, Islanders, Bruins, Canucks, and Rangers. The native of Slovakia played in the Olympics twice, 2010 and 2014, and was a part of the championship Team European Championship team for the World Cup of Hockey in 2016. So Yaroslav Halak officially announcing his retirement.
And you said he hadn't played in a couple of years. He was actually cleaning out a drawer when he found the retirement papers, and he asked his wife, "Did you ever send these in?" "No." "All right, well, let's go and fax them in." And they had to first find a fax machine, get it to hooked up, figure it out, and then they just realized it was easier to just send it in. So they mailed it into the NHL. A guy that's been out of the league for 2 years. I love that he finally gets around to. I mean, do you have to officially retire? Can't you just stop playing?
I remember hearing an interview about this, and or maybe it was on a show I was on when I was at Fox Sports Radio. That I think that's what it was. That's what it was. I think like Brady Quinn, those guys, they just like never filed their retirement papers. There was some reason for it. Can't remember what it was, but most of the
I'm sure
time,
it's an
yeah.
insurance thing.
I'm sure there's a reason for it, and it's beneficial to the players. But yeah, there's a lot of times where they don't even do that. So I think in his case, though, he was just like, well, let's see, maybe somebody will call. Well, we won't call it officially yet. And then he was at 295 career wins. Certainly would have been nice to get the 300 for him, but unfortunately, that did not get the opportunity to get 5 more wins in his career.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see a guy like him, and I don't know where he was living in the United States, if he was in the United States, but it would be interesting if he just offered his services as the e-bug.
There are weird rules about the e-bug that you can't have played in an NHL game in a certain amount of time, and I was reading the whole list of it, and it's like, wow, okay, it's a really long list of requirements that you have to meet to be the e-bug. So I don't think he would be eligible to do that if he wanted to.
Why would he not? I mean, what's the point of that though?
I don't know.
It's not lucrative. It's available to both teams.
Yeah, no,
it's not a competitive advantage. I mean, it's not like we're burying a third string goalie on e-bug. The guy's not making any money.
Oh, I hear you. I just remember reading this whole list and thinking, my gosh, I could actually try and maybe find it real quick if you want to vamp for a couple of seconds. But
I would be interested in knowing what it was. And
okay, here we go.
Would be all right.
Full-time team e-bugs must be prepared to enter all home games and away games. Cannot have played in an NHL game under an NHL contract. That's what it's cannot have played in an NHL game under an NHL contract. Cannot have played more than 80 professional games. Cannot have played professional hockey in the last 3 years. Cannot be on another NHL team's reserved or restricted free agent list or have other contractual obligations that prevent ability to serve as e-bug. Clubs cannot use an e-bug in consecutive games unless both goalies are injured in a second game. So there was your list of e-bug rules.
How weird.
Yeah.
I mean, so really they want some just dude off the street.
Yeah, really it hasn't changed from who it is. It's just, I guess they're more official as far as, I don't know.
Isn't that part of the new CBA though, that they're changing that so that teams will have like an assigned e-bug as opposed to just the random person? Are these the new rules or are these the existing rules?
No, these are the new rules.
Oh, so he could have been an emergency goalie the past. Those are the new rules that don't take effect until 2026.
I don't know what the old rules are. I just know that those are the new rules. And
I would like to have seen. I don't see what the harm is. Obviously, they care more than I do. But what's the harm in having a former NHL goalie that's not under contract anymore serving as an emergency goalie for any team that,
I also seem to remember a famous story that it's so famous I don't remember the name of the person, but there was a goalie coach that was going to dress out. Like it got to a point
right. I remember that.
It was like, we don't think the other guy's going to be able to make it in time or something. And the goalie coach who had played in the NHL decades ago was finding some gear to put on.
I'm pretty sure that was the Ducks with it was either Peter Budaj I'm pretty sure it was the Ducks, and it was a year or two ago. It may have either been Peter Budaj or forgetting who their goalie coach was before that. But yeah, I seem to remember that because exactly that. There was an illness or somebody got injured and they were on the road, and it's like, look, this is what we got. And he's available. And yeah, he was it would have been, but you know what? That guy's probably better prepared than somebody that meets all that ridiculous criteria. You've never been a professional goalie. You haven't played for a team. You're not why even have a goalie at that point? I get that people fit the criteria that are somewhat capable, but I don't see what the harm is in having a former goalie that is still somewhat young stepping in to play a game.
I got no answer for you.
Yeah.
Also, one final note, former NHL goalie Wayne Thomas passed away. He was 77, played goal for the Canadiens, Maple Leafs, and Rangers from 1973 to 1980, had a long tenure after his playing career as a coach and executive, coaching with the Rangers, Blackhawks, Blues, and Sharks, was also a coach in the International Hockey League, spent the last 2 decades in the front office of the Sharks from the mid-90s to 2015. He was the assistant GM and vice president of the American Hockey League team for the San Jose Sharks. So Wayne Thomas passing away at the age of 77. Anything that I might have missed, Doug? Was there anything you heard from the past week that?
Well, I mean,
yes?
Drew Hellison got a contract from the Ducks for a couple years. He's a defenseman, young defenseman that played very well last year. So that was a restricted free agent they signed. But beyond that, not much. It's been a pretty quiet week in the NHL. As we said last week, I think not only the media, but also the teams, for the most part, are taking some time off to recharge their batteries, get away from the rink. We've got training camp coming up and rookie camps starting in about 6 weeks. So there will still be business here and there, some signings here and there, maybe now and then a trade. And we will certainly bring up the Isaac Howard trade again next week. We will continue that. So we can, we'll see if I can be consistent with my analysis of that. But no, it's been a pretty quiet week, and that's fine because the regular season is such an onslaught of news at all times that it's nice to have some slower times.
All right. Well, that'll do it for our first period of the YouTube show. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more, check out the remaining 2 periods of the podcast. Search Puck Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening to the podcast already, the second and third periods are coming right up. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm Eddie Garcia. He's Doug Stolhand, and we'll talk to you next time with another edition of the Puck Podcast.